What we got going on here, man?
Full off-season mode right now. I can't be bothered. You're lucky I didn't show up in the fur coat as well.
The value of players is changing rapidly throughout the offseason. So keep that in mind. You feel like you could eat a lot of waffles, but
You can't.
yeah, you can't.
Waffles fill you up quick.
It is now officially the off season, no matter what. Some of the leagues went a little longer this year into week 18. But Tyler, what we got going on here, man?
Full off-season mode right now. I can't be bothered. You're lucky I didn't show up in the fur coat as well. So I'm just ready to go. This is the best time of the year I feel like for redraft leagues, this is the time where you're sitting around and you're just waiting for the draft. This is really one of the most exciting times for Dynasty League. So I'm just ready to get it going.
It is an exciting time. My anticipation is like a little too much because nobody wants to trade in that first. Not well. I don't want to say. I feel like everybody wants to trade in that first week when it opens back up in the off season, but like people tend to wait a little bit. Like it's a long off season, and people are still trying to figure out what they want to do with their team. But like, I'm just anticipating. I'm just excited for the draft, but even that's a long way away, kind of in a sense. So that's like just excitement's building right now for sure.
I think that was subliminal because I sent you over a trade yesterday and I didn't get a single response for
Oh
it.
shoot! I actually, this is bad, but I didn't even know that. I probably
No, it's nothing
shouldn't
crazy.
admit that.
I'll disclose. I'm not going to disclose what the trade is. I will disclose
Should
that
I
I
look
did
at
send a
it?
trade.
Wait, should I look at it right now?
No. Just for right now, just keep it under wraps. It's just like a low key one that I want to
Okay.
send over. But a lot of leagues, this is when you can start trading again. The championship's done, so it's exciting. I know that was killing me those couple weeks in between when you couldn't trade. Like now I was already looking at the trade block, which I don't know if anyone even updated yet, but not this is I'm telling you, this is an exciting time. Now you get the draft, you get trades, and you get the NFL playoffs, which is something that is extremely important as well that we'll get to. You checking out the trade?
Yeah. I won't say anything. I'll keep it under wraps for the sake of the rest of the league hearing. Okay, so we're gonna get into it as we said off season right now. So what's crazy? Actually, my phone was like broken for like over 24 hours, so that's why I actually kind of feel like real out of it right now, like not connected. But anyways, it is the off season now. We're gonna go through some off-season tips right now, and including make sure you have a working phone for when other GMs call you. But anyways, what are we thinking now for off-season tips?
I think at the end of the day, you need to have a plan. And that looks something different for each person. For me, I love just like going on making spreadsheets, just throwing your team out there and just kind of moving pieces around. But at the end of the day, have a plan. And what you want to do is kind of see what you have, be real with yourself, and then you want to see what pieces you have and what you're going to do with those pieces, what you're going to do with your draft picks to fill those needs. So really be able to take a look at your team and say what your
Bro,
needs
I'm
are. Like
dying
for
of your
me,
sunglasses right now.
the QB1 is the need I have, the RB1, and then getting really specific, the QB2 and the RB3. Like these are things that I'm telling myself, and I don't feel bad disclosing that information, because if someone has one of these positions and they want to trade them with me in the league, please do. But being really, really specific, because then when you're planning, you're saying, hey, who can I trade for to get that position? What can I do in order to fill these needs to make my team as good as possible?
For sure. And I like that you said be real with yourself, because everybody wants to win now. Like I'm sure everybody wants to win now, like deep down inside, but you really like there's only certain, like I know in our league, like heading into this season, there was probably maybe 4 teams that really could win now. And then there was certainly, the fifth or sixth, maybe seventh team that was pushing to win now, and it just wasn't going to happen, and you end up ruining your future. So just be real with yourself, and it's fun to rebuild. It honestly is fun to rebuild, so enjoy it while it happens. But if you need to rebuild, if you need a QB2, an RB1, and if you're maybe you need a wide receiver 1 or 2, if you need like 3 positions like that, you probably aren't ready to win a championship. in this next season. I'm not saying you couldn't. Teams have definitely done it if you are stocked up on draft picks or something like that. Like you could potentially rebuild in that way, go buy players, but be real with yourself and just understand, like look in the mirror and be like, okay, it's rebuilding time. My team was good, but they're getting old and they kind of fell off this season. Whatever it might be, just be real with yourself and know what you need to do. Where the direction your team is going, basically.
Yeah, you can just see like in my sunglasses, just the whole reflection of the setup behind me. So if someone wants to, you can see everything that I have on this spreadsheet right here. Valuable information.
Oh,
But
shoot.
something on here that I think I don't know if people know about. I mean, people have to, but a newer player may not. Is looking at trade value charts. If you look up a trade value chart, they have them specific for Dynasty. It'll tell you PPR, half PPR, what that player's value is for Superflex and non-Superflex. And that's the first thing I do when I get a trade is I look on I specifically use Fantasy Pros, but there's numerous sites that have them, and I just line them up, see what the numbers come out to, and I don't use it as 100% reason to make a trade or not make a trade. But if it's way off in numbers, then I'm saying no right away. Or if it's the other way around, then that's something that I'm like, that's something I have to really look at if it's something that's really good at value wise for me. So I put all my players' values down on the sheet, so then I can see where my values are. So when I'm trading players, what I have, and what positions I'm stronger at and what positions I'm not as strong at.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, kind of goes hand in hand with just evaluating your team in general, but like go through and really pinpoint your needs. Like really pinpoint what your needs. Maybe your needs are draft picks. Like maybe that's your need. But maybe like if your RB1 isn't likely to be a top I mean, if your RB1 isn't likely to be the top 10 and your wide receiver one isn't likely to be a top 10 next season, then like you have some needs there. Like really evaluate each position and evaluate your bench and evaluate your draft capital too. Like if you're an older team, maybe it's draft picks that's your biggest need. So that's really important to go through and pinpoint that. I'd also say don't find a balance of not giving up, showing everything that you want, right away. Like don't go out there and tell every single GM what you're looking for right away necessarily. Keep good relationships with GMs. Eventually you definitely are going to obviously want to say what you're looking for, because how else are you going to make a trade, but still, like the off season kind of like changes rapidly. Like what players are going to go at the top of the draft is going to change a decent amount. Players are, being signed out of free agency. Like the value of players is changing rapidly throughout the offseason. So keep that in mind for your own self, and just to know, not be set in stone about what you want and not be revealing everything that you want right away, because as players get drafted, you understand what their situation is going to be a little bit more, who their quarterback is going to be, what kind of competition they have on the team. Same thing if a player gets traded or signed to a new team. So situations are always changing. That's something in general you should keep in mind for Dynasty, but definitely keep in mind for the off season.
Yeah, and I think this is a good transition here for everyone's offseason goes one or two ways. You mentioned you have to ask yourself, are you rebuilding or are you in a situation to win? And if you are rebuilding, you're looking to the draft, which means rookies, right? So you got to start preparing for the draft. So who's a rookie that when you're looking, who catches your eye? Like who's someone who you want to talk about? First rookie that you're just really excited, because I know I have someone specific that I'm watching all of his highlights, getting excited because I think there's a great chance I'm going to have him on my team. Obviously that could change, but who do you have?
Yeah. By the way, watch highlights. That is also another good tip overall.
But watch lowlights too.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, my guy is Jordan Addison right now. I have my eyes on him, largely because of what he did at Pitt. And like, to be honest with you, so I don't want to say that I covered Pitt football, but when I was a reporter in Erie, Pennsylvania, I sort of kind of covered Pitt football. Either way, I watched a decent amount of Pitt football. I never really thought Kenny Pickett was anything that special. Now he's like starting to prove me wrong at the NFL level. But at the time, I thought his receivers were making him look really good. And Jordan Addison was one of those receivers. And he went out off for like 1,000. I want to look up his stats. He had like 1,600 yards at his last season at Pitt, I think, something like that. But either way, he's he was injured this season, and that could be really tough. And like because of that, when he finally came back at USC, he wasn't as heavily involved in the offense because that's just how they didn't play with him the whole season. But I think he's a guy who is supposed to be just really crisp, ready for the NFL, runs good routes, not insanely athletic. He's 6 foot tall. He's not a huge body, not insanely gifted physically, but just runs great routes and does all the fundamentals right. Is kind of just a crisp, ready for the NFL receiver. And he's might be my favorite wide receiver out of this rookie draft.
Yeah, but speaking of receivers, that's something I was going to say. We could probably do a whole show on that. The 3 wide receivers that are kind of grouped together right there with Quentin Johnston and then Smith and Jigba. They're both with Jordan Addison. I feel like those 3 players are 3 really good, really good receivers who can have first year power and be able, and they go in any order that I've been seeing when I've been looking at some mock drafts.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. I know that Quentin Johnson has been touted all season long as this great receiver, and he probably is, but just because I get to hyper focus on him when he's in these big games at the end of the season, I haven't seen anything that special from him. It was kind of hard to watch last night. That's not necessarily his fault, but the national
It's
championship,
how quick
that
it can
is.
change thoughts though on a player.
Yeah. And I saw him drop a pretty big pass in his conference championship game. And last night was just, I mean, it's not his fault, but Georgia just dominated, so it is what it is. But then again, I mean, I would have to go back and review the tapes, which maybe I will, because I'd love to see how often was he even open. So I don't know the answer to that, but I'm being skeptical, and I probably shouldn't be. But either way, in the big moments that I've seen him, he hasn't done much, and that's not necessarily a knock on him, but it doesn't help him either.
No, definitely. Yeah, he's a player. I don't think I'm going to be able to get him, so I haven't really looked too much into him, but he's definitely, I have him on my list. I'll say that much. So for me, I'm going to stay in the first round too, because I feel like that's just the most exciting. And I'm sitting at the 4 and the 5 position, which leaves me some options. And I feel like it's right outside that elite tier of draft picks for this year, where you get Bijan and then the 2 quarterbacks, and then at 4, I feel like Jahmyr Gibbs.
Specifically, by the way, we are in a super flex league, so that's what we kind of keep in mind when we're talking.
Yes, quarterback. Otherwise, I don't think quarterbacks would go as high. Then again, I haven't really been looking into.
I feel like you might be getting one of those quarterbacks at 2-3, but not both of them aren't necessarily top 3 draft picks.
I think,
or
yeah,
even
I think
top 5 draft picks.
I don't know. Going for you're saying for a standard.
If you're in a one quarterback flex league, then you might pick one of those quarterbacks, but you're not picking both of those quarterbacks, is what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, I'd agree. And also stay away from any quarterback that played yesterday.
Yeah.
And if you didn't know, because Nick was asking if we had scouts at the game. My scouts at the game said don't, just stay away.
Yeah. My scouts aren't too comfortable with really any of the players on those teams, to be honest with you.
But back to Jahmyr Gibbs. I feel like I need a RB1. He's a really good Alabama. Anytime you can get an Alabama player that draws comparisons to Alvin Kamara, can't really go wrong there. So I feel like he's there. But if somehow a quarterback falls, which you would probably have a pretty good idea if a quarterback would fall there, then I think that's going to be the way that I'm going to go. But I feel like running backs are a dime a dozen. And again, it's getting them you can get him later on in the draft, but he's one of those guys who I feel like in a lot of drafts, he could be that number 1 overall pick, from what I've been reading and from the eye test, which I always say go by the eye test because you can read a report about anyone saying whether they're great or that they're horrible.
Yeah. Yeah, other than the fact that like Bijan Robinson is supposed to be like insanely elite and surefire first overall pick in Dynasty, like I do think that I've heard a lot about really a lot of the running backs in that position, but certainly I do like Alabama. He's Alabama's running back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. As a lot as well. And they've produced good running backs in the past. And I did just want to say though, Jordan Addison at Pitt, 17 touchdowns, like 1,000, almost 1,600 yards in 2021. Like those are some pretty insane numbers. And certainly he had, now we know Kenny Pickett, NFL level quarterback throwing to him, but regardless, I mean, he really stood out and he was injured last season. And if that lowers his stock, all the better, because he may be the best receiver out of this class.
Yeah, and I feel like rookie receivers have been a gold mine recently. Yeah, a lot of rookie receivers have been performing really well their first year. Again, Nick would know that for sure because he had like 9 first-round picks last year and drafted all the great wide receivers. So he's stocked for rookie wide receivers.
Yeah, absolutely. Should we move on here to just kind of watching games in the playoffs?
Yeah, I'll keep it short and sweet for me. Just look at it's the time that the fluctuation of a player's value is you're gonna see a shoot up really quick, or you could see a shoot down really quick. Everyone's gonna be watching the games, right? So every single person, if someone has 3 touchdowns in a game, like think about Gabe Davis. What was that last year?
I had
2 years
Gabe
ago?
Davis heading into offseason last year.
When he went wild, you could have like his value was insane going into this season, and he's a good receiver, but he's not where his value was at that point. So taking advantage of those spikes is like we talked about last time, economics. Like you sell
I feel
them at
like
the
I
top.
could, yeah, for sure.
But at the
Yeah,
same
like
time too,
if these skyrocket, like evaluate it correctly, because like if this is a young star who people already thought was going to break out and he has that breakout games in the playoffs, maybe he is legit, maybe he is going to be a star. But at the same time, if it's just one of those games where, hey, like the wide receiver 1 on that team was just being double covered and this guy was just left open, and maybe he's been in the league for a couple of years and never showed anything valuable before, he's probably not as good as what he showed in that game. His value is going to skyrocket from this one game, and you probably should take that opportunity to trade him.
yeah, obviously it's a player to player situation, but I also think another big thing too is looking. You get to see a lot of players who you don't always get to see. Is like, I'll admit, I don't watch every single NFL game. I don't go back through and watch the highlights of every single NFL game. So there are players that I don't pay attention to as much, especially the ones who don't get on national TV all the time. Like I'm watching the Eagles for the 1 o'clock game almost every week. There's like 3, 4 o'clock games that get aired. And then you have Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football. So the games that aren't on there, you don't see them. Playoffs, everyone sees every single game is what I'm getting at. So you get to discover players who maybe you're like, wow, I really like how that player played. Again, I go back to the eye test, watching players. And when I say, I also don't mean you don't have to watch every single college football game, but you can watch every playoff game and you can really get a good view of these players, and you get to find out what players you want to attack in the off season, and feel more confident when you are going after them.
Yeah, for sure. And when I watch, I always have my phone or laptop up. If there's a player who I haven't watched a whole lot this season, I see him doing some good things, I want to look him up immediately. I want him on my radar. I want to keep him in mind. Look him up. Look what his stats have done. Look whose team he's on in my dynasty league, and just keep that in mind. And I have a running list of kind of guys I'm just kind of writing down, like guys I'm just writing down. Like, this is interesting. I need a receiver. Here's an interesting receiver. I don't mean I'm necessarily even going to make a trade for him, but I'm going to keep him in mind as I continue to evaluate my team throughout the offseason, writing him down so I just don't forget that, okay, this is an interesting guy. And I'll do that for guys that I do know as well, but maybe it does come from watching a playoff game, and I'm like, yeah, that's right. He's had a really good season. Like, I'm gonna write his name down and keep him in mind.
Yeah, let's get to the fun stuff. Loser punishments.
All right. I didn't come prepared, but I got some. Go ahead first, but I got some
I have
ideas.
a list. I have a list because this is something that I love. I feel like they're so fun. Like it's one of the I feel like a big part. Like besides obviously the champion, like the loser punishment is huge, and like that's one of the you don't want to be in a lot of leagues. They don't take advantage of that. Like my home league, that my redraft league is no one actually like when people we have to fight for people to do it. And honestly, it's not the best one. It's the beer mile, which I have on my list, which you have to like every quarter mile you drink a beer till you run a mile. It's
Okay.
whatever. I think that's lower on the list, but like some of the ones I think are great are
It's not
like,
like intricate, but it definitely would be hard.
yeah, like it's not fun. Like it's not something that you'd want to do, but I feel like it doesn't
You don't want
bring
to chug four
it's
beers in
not
the.
that funny. Like it's
Yeah.
not it's just like it sucks for them.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like the ACT test, like if you have to like if you come in last place and you have to like go take the ACT test like on a Sunday with a bunch of high school kids and like you have to like let's say you have to get a certain grade to pass or like you have to post it on somewhere like what your grade that you got is. I say it had to be a certain grade so that you couldn't just like fill it in as quick as you could. But like
Yeah.
that one's great. Like
That's
that's so
funny. People definitely be like looking over, like, who is this degenerate like adult who's trying to get into college or some shit? Not that that's a bad thing for an adult to be trying to get into college, but like,
no, but they wouldn't be taking
still,
the ACT test either way,
yeah.
probably. Like it's just a ridiculous thing to do. But it's like, and it's also just a pain. Like it's an inconvenience, but it's also funny. Like all like I would go like to the person if they were in the area, I'd like go like when they came out, like pick them up, like take pictures of them coming out of the ACT testing or something. That'd be
ACT,
fun.
SATs, I hated those
Yeah,
fuckers.
those tests sucked. The waffle challenge, that one, like that one's brutal too.
The Waffle House challenge, and there's definitely like other variations of it too, but like, yes, I feel like that's like the one that people know a lot. But yeah, like staying in Waffle House for 24 hours, every waffle you eat cuts off an
An
hour.
hour.
And that seems at first you're like, okay, like 24 hours, like just one, like couple waffles. Like you feel like you could eat a lot of waffles, but
You
like,
can't.
yeah, you can't.
Waffles
You
fill you up quick.
you could eat 12 waffles. I think at best you would eat 12 waffles and you would get out in like 12 hours.
That still sucks. Waffle houses
And then you would
aren't
be
like
full as
the
fuck.
and being
Imagine
in a
eating
Waffle
one
House,
waffle every hour for the entire day.
but you wouldn't even have to at that point. If well, no, oh yeah, because it'd be for just 12
If
hours.
you like were if you were like keeping on that pace, yeah. But
Yeah,
like,
no
okay, so
shot.
like the pardon my take guys, like they're doing a challenge right now. Two of them have to like bowl 300, and every hot dog they eat knocks their score that they have to get down by like 10 points, and then they have to like stay in the bowling alley until they can bowl whatever their final score is. Like, so that's like
That's
a
wild.
variation of it for sure. There's
That's pretty
always,
cool.
yeah, I like that. I like the physical challenge, like the like competition to it a little bit, like
Yeah,
having
there's
to
either the
bowl.
competition or the embarrassing. Those are like the two like sides. Or there's the like annoying. There's
Yeah,
like yeah. Well, no, I just say yeah. I'd group it embarrassing and um competitive.
yeah.
I
I
don't
feel
know.
like it's
There's
embarrassing,
like two sides of
like
them.
a yeah, like
I
a
don't know what I'm
something
getting
like
at,
a feat,
honestly.
some sort of feat,
Yeah,
basically.
feet. That's a good way to put it.
But
So,
like then
but I've
there's
been
like
saving the best two for last, though. That's all I gotta
I
say.
feel like this one's like a pretty common generic one. I don't know if it falls under those categories though. Maybe embarrassing, but like getting a certain tattoo, but like it's like get a
You just
tattoo
not.
on
You
your butt
can't.
or
No
something like
way you can
that.
force everyone to do it though. Like, or
Yeah,
not. Not even like, can you not force them to? No one would. But like, no, not everyone would even agree to. Like, no
yeah,
one would agree to it.
that's true.
Um, but the best two that I've heard so far, and I feel like one falls into each category, so it's pretty good. The embarrassing side, you have to order a custom fat head of the champion and display it somewhere in your house, anywhere you want. It can't just be in a tube, but like it has to be sticking on some wall. It could be like your closet wall. It has to be somewhere, but you have to have the champion's full body holding the trophy fat head of the champion.
Yo, you should get like a decal and put it on your car. That would be
That's
great.
good. Yeah, like as like a lower cost one, just like a decal like on the little back,
Yeah,
like just like the
because it would
champion, just like
also
smile
be
like
like easier for to enforce slash like easier for someone to keep it there, and like just the rest of the world gets to see it
I
too.
like that better. Which is a great transition to the which one I think is the best because it's hard to do for sure. Very embarrassing. It's the TikTok challenge. I've seen a few of these already, where whoever comes in last has to do a dance on TikTok until it gets a certain amount of views. And it's like a high number. It's like 10K views, which that's high for some people, not high for some people, but for whatever,
Not high
10K
for Tyler, dude.
no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying for like in big like ESPN, like like
Yeah,
10K is nothing, but for like a random person in a fantasy
I don't
football
think I
league
would
like us.
ever get like I'd really have to try to get 10K. Go follow my TikTok, okay?
Well, as I mean, you have to keep posting videos of you dancing till you got 10K views, like one a day. So you're doing dances for like, and you have to make them embarrassing or funny or something to get 10K views.
Yeah.
So like you're doing at least
You're gonna have to try
5.
really hard to get it done and over with quickly.
I think if you're like, because the ones that like I've seen posted are like they'll put like fantasy football like punishment, like, and they'll post put what it is. So, like everyone's like, for the boys, I got you. So like
Yeah,
they go
yeah.
up pretty quick, but at the same time, like you still are posting like at least 5. I say at least 5 videos,
Yeah.
like embarrassing videos on TikTok. Digital footprint out there. I think I think that's the worst one out of all of them because if I got like I would be dreading doing that. All the other ones I would do, and I honestly would do it pretty relatively quickly, as in like I would come in last and within a month I would do that loser punishment.
Yeah.
No problem. Not being that like annoyed by it. That I would be like petrified by. I don't know, like
That's
just dancing
definitely
on.
embarrassing. It's definitely embarrassing. There's always like the like stand on the side of the road ones and stuff like that, like the sign that says I lost my fantasy championship
That's
or
so
something
like
like
old
that.
school though.
But
But
yeah,
TikTok
yeah.
too, like it's like all corrupt and stuff. So they'll be showing it to like random people in your contacts that should not be seeing it. So like like your third grade teacher will somehow be like seeing you doing these dances.
That's insane. All right. Yeah, yeah. If anyone out there has any other uh challenges, any last place punishments that they have to do in their league, let us know. Let us know on Instagram.
Leave
Let's
them in the
write this all
comments or
down
send us
here.
videos. Send us videos.
Yeah, send us if this is something that you got getting video of, send us videos. Like maybe we'll repost them. Screw it.
Yeah, you want publicity for your league? Come on, send them over. We'll retweet it for you. We'll post it on our Instagram. We have like 15 followers.
And going up, so make sure you follow.
Yeah, you never know. By tomorrow, after this video, man, we could have
Off-season mode is
off-season
engaging.
mode is like at least 1,000 subs. At least 1,000 subs.
It's getting crazy because we're going to be talking about Dynasty all off season long. It's going to be a long off season. Sometimes there's like this lull in content, but not for us. We are going to keep it going all season long. We're talking Dynasty football. So keep up with it. But until then, we'll see you next time.
Peace.
Peace.